The night was supposed to be quiet. Just another shift at a lonely highway gas station. But every night, at exactly 3:13, a black sedan appeared. And one night, I finally realized what it did, when I wasn't even looking. It began innocently. Just another quiet night at an isolated highway gas station. No crowds, no chaos, only distant trucks passing, their engines fading like echoes in the dark. Occasional cars appeared from nowhere, then vanished back into the black highway. Inside, the air always carried a faint stench of old plastic and burnt coffee from a vending machine that never tasted right. Fluorescent lights buzzed above, flickering just enough to make every corner feel unstable. Outside, silence. Too much silence. The kind that doesn't just surround you, but watches. At first, it seemed manageable, almost normal. But then, I noticed the silence wasn't empty. It responded. When I moved, something out there shifted too. Not seen, just there. In a way that made no sense. Every night, at exactly 3:13, it came. A black sedan, immaculate, too perfect, as if it had never known dust, rain, or even time itself. It glided to pump 2 with precision. Engine running, no one stepped out. And wherever I stood, the car seemed aware of me, waiting. By the 3rd week, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I tried, music low in the kiosk, eyes fixed anywhere but outside. But my gaze always snapped back to pump 2. Stop, wait, leave. Same ritual, every night. And doubt slipped in, slow and cold. Maybe someone had stepped out and I hadn't seen it. Maybe exhaustion was bending my memory. Or maybe nothing at all was happening, except inside my head. Then, it began before 3:13. One night, the fuel hose at pump 2 twitched. Real, sharp, like something had tested its weight and found it light. I froze. The station held its breath. Then the radio cracked. Not static. A single broken burst of sound. Every screen in the shop flickered. Just half a second too long. When the lights returned, the air felt colder, as if the room had lost heat it didn't even know it had. Nothing looked different. But I stopped trusting what normal even meant. I needed proof. So I checked the cameras. The night felt wrong. Too quiet. 3:12. I sat behind the counter, lukewarm coffee in hand, stomach tight for reasons I couldn't name, as if my body already knew. 3:13. The sedan appeared. I switched to the feed. Pump 2. The car perfectly framed, engine humming, motionless. Then, the hose moved. Slowly, like something invisible had lifted it. No one there. I rewound, zoomed in. Frame by frame, the hose didn't just move. It hovered. And this time, cast a shadow. A shadow with no source. The meter climbed, liters counting up, cost rising. No fuel flowed, no sound, no explanation. Just a machine pretending that something was happening. My breath froze. Then the radio cracked again, closer this time, as if it was coming from inside the speaker itself. For a moment, the window fogged from the inside. No one had breathed on it. It just appeared. I stepped back. The car remained, but it didn't feel parked anymore. Incomplete, as if it hadn't fully settled into reality. The next night, I almost didn't come in, but I did. 3:10. Everything identical. Too identical. Fridge humming, lights flickering faintly, the highway outside feeling almost erased. 3:13. The sedan returned. Black, silent, exact. The radio didn't crack this time. It bent, like the sound itself was being physically compressed. I turned toward the glass and saw it. A figure at pump 2, not exiting, not arriving, just standing there. Still. Too still. like its body was holding a position it didn't understand. I blinked. It didn't move. I pulled up the camera feed and froze on the screen. I was outside, standing at pump 2, myself. But the timing was wrong. On the screen, I moved a fraction too early, like it already knew what I was going to do. I turned. The shop was empty. Chair still warm. Coffee still there. Shaking slightly now from a faint vibration in the floor. But the air felt wrong. Not empty. Occupied. Like something had just left me standing inside it. I ran outside. The air hit me harder, colder, denser. The highway stretched too far, as if distance itself had been pulled tight. And there I was, my own body, at pump 2. But wrong. Small mismatches. Head slightly delayed, shoulders tense, wrong. Like a copy lagging behind. The black sedan idled beside me, engine humming. The door was open. Inside was not night dark, it was flat. No reflection, no depth. Even in the glass, my eyes didn't return. Just an empty black surface. My double didn't look at me. It stared at the car. Then, slowly, it stepped inside. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Not silence. No air moved at all. The door closed. A pause. Then the car moved. Not onto the highway, but into the dark stretch beyond where the road should have ended. As if the night itself had opened just enough to let it pass. 3:13 vanished from the clock. 3:14 appeared, as if nothing had happened. But in the reflection of the window, I remained at pump 2 for a moment too long, even though nothing was there. Then it was gone. The wind stopped. The pump kept humming normally, like reality had patched itself back together. The next night, I returned to work. Or rather, someone returned. No one noticed. Only that I moved differently now. More precise, always exactly on time. And every night, at exactly 3:13, the black sedan comes back. Pump 2, engine humming, no one steps out. But sometimes, in the glass reflection, 2 figures appear, one behind the counter, one at the pump. Both still, both waiting. And if you watch long enough, you notice they don't always move at the same time. I've worked a lot of jobs, but there's one I never speak of. Not because nothing happened, because far too much did. Not because nothing happened, but because too much happened. Too much to ever forget. I worked the night shift at St. Aurelius General, a hospital in a city I won't name. Quiet, too quiet. Empty halls that never seemed to sleep. Before I go any further, I need to be clear about one thing. I'm not telling this to convince you it was supernatural. And I'm not saying it was nothing. I'm telling it because I still don't know what it was. The job seemed simple at first. Facilities, security, maintenance calls. Lock what had to stay locked, unlock what had to be accessible, and walk the building, alone when almost no one else stirred. 3 floors, 2 wings, 1 basement, morgue, boiler room, storage corridors untouched for decades, a hospital that never felt quite alive, always too quiet, never peaceful. The first incident didn't feel like an incident. It felt like mishearing something. Around 2 a.m., ground floor administrative corridor. Strip lights overhead, half dimmed. The air dry and sterile, that hospital smell that clung to my clothes. My footsteps echoed alone until typing began. Keyboard typing, slow, controlled, deliberate like handwriting made audible, from the east wing. I froze. My footsteps stopped. The typing did not. It went on, 3, maybe 5 seconds longer than it should have. Then it ended, not fading, not retreating, just stopped, as if someone simply lifted their hands and walked away. I told myself it must be radiology. That made sense. I checked. No one was scheduled. No one signed in. No after-hours activity. Nothing. But it wasn't the sound that lingered. It was how normal it had felt while it happened, as if the building itself had been expecting it. Over the next 2 weeks, consistency offered no comfort. A stairwell door in the east wing closed at 3:10 a.m. Slow, controlled, too deliberate to be accidental. A wheelchair on the second floor had rotated exactly 90 degrees from where I left it. I was the only person on that floor for over an hour. I checked twice, then a third time, just to be sure. Then came the intercom. 2:47 a.m. Outpatient waiting area. Static. Then a low electrical hiss. 11 seconds. Around the 6th second, the tone changed. Not louder, not clearer, just structured, as if something was trying and failing to form language. Then silence. No record, no trigger, no call. The engineer said the same thing twice. It can't activate itself. And then he stopped talking. I started logging everything. Small green notebook, front pocket. At first, just documentation. Then confirmation. Then something closer to testing my own memory against reality. Because I noticed something else. The more I wrote, the less certain I became that I had seen it correctly the first time. Then came the cameras. 31 feeds. Every corridor, every stairwell, every blind corner I knew by heart. I began reviewing 2 to 4 a.m. every morning. At first, nothing unusual. Just empty hallways, doing exactly what empty hallways do. Then, the building began to show inconsistencies. First time, east wing corridor, a shift in shadow at the far end of the frame. I hesitate to call it movement because nothing moved. More like the absence of light behaving as it should. Something stood there, failing to reflect, then correcting itself. Second time, basement stairwell camera, 3:22 a.m. Something appeared at the edge of the frame. Human proportions. Still. Too still. Not breathing, not waiting. More like recorded stillness. 4 seconds. Then gone. No exit, no motion trail, no obstruction. Just removed from continuity. I rewound that clip 9 times, and each replay felt slightly less complete than the last. Third time, second floor nursing station, 3:44 a.m., empty corridor. But my workstation monitor was active. Not waking, not glitching, active. Mouse input registered, as if someone had just finished and walked away mid-task. No one on camera. At least, no one I could identify as human. I showed it to the facilities director. He listened, without reacting. Not disbelief, not concern, just distance. Then he muttered something about compression issues in the basement feed. Old buildings create unpredictable air movement, he said. Systems misinterpret noise. He spoke as if the building itself were the problem, not the data, not me. The building. As I left, he added quietly, "Some buildings hold on to things." A pause. I thought he was done. He wasn't. Best not to look too hard. I asked what he meant. He didn't answer. But he looked at me for the first time. And I wish he hadn't. 3 days later, I requested a transfer. None were available. So I stayed. And I changed my route. No repetition, no predictable sequence. At least, on paper, 3:08 a.m., ground floor administrative corridor, the same place I first heard typing. Footsteps, my footsteps. Exact pace, exact rhythm, exact sequence of my nightly round, coming from the east wing. But I stood still. I hadn't moved for almost a full minute. I followed them with my ears alone. They weren't rushing. They weren't wandering. They were working, completing something. Something structured, something learned, or remembered. The footsteps reached the junction near the basement stairwell, slowed, stopped, and this time, there was something different. Not silence, but missing sound where it should have continued. I switched on my flashlight. Empty corridor. Basement door closed, but the air felt wrong. Not colder, not warmer, just delayed, as if the room hadn't fully caught up to the present. I checked the cameras immediately. Ground floor, east wing, junction corridor, 3:08 a.m. All feeds showed nothing, but not empty nothing, not static nothing. One frame seemed slightly ahead of the next, as if the building wasn't recording one moment, but several versions of it trying to agree. I finished the shift, but I didn't feel like I had left it. I drove home under a graining sky, and I kept checking my rearview mirror, too many times for something I couldn't define. I handed in my notice a week later. 2 weeks after that, I was gone. But that's not the part that haunts me. Before I left for the last time, I went back through the notebook. Every entry matched, but not perfectly. Some timestamps shifted slightly, details I don't remember writing. Some descriptions were more detailed than I recall thinking at the time. And one page held a note I don't remember adding. It simply read, "You already walked past it once." I still don't know what it means. But I know I didn't leave that building the same way I entered it. Not in distance, not in time. Sometimes I wonder if the footage wasn't showing me what was there, but what continued after I was already gone. Some buildings hold on to things, that's what he said. But I don't think he meant the building.